Hello, everyone. Just giving folks a second to join in. Good afternoon and welcome to the New York Charter Schools Association monthly statewide webinar for June. Happy close to end of the year for everyone. I'm Anna Hall, CEO of the Northeast Charter Schools Network. I'm joined today by Natasha Cherry Perez, Chief of Staff for the New York Charter Schools Association. And we're also, as always, thrilled to be joined by our authorizers and partner co-hosts, Lisa Long, Executive Director of the Charter Schools Office at NYSED, Michael Lazinski, Director of Communications at the SUNY Charter Schools Institute, Erin Cochran, who always has the best set of glasses and apparently quite the collection of them, Interim Acting Senior Executive Director of Policy and Operations at the New York City DOE, and Corey Callahan, General Counsel and VP of Legal Policy at the New York City Charter School Center. So crazy that it's close to the end of another school year, and I know that this time of year is incredibly jam-packed with both like exciting, happy events like graduation and also just everyone trying to wrap things up before a well-deserved summer break. We wish you a happy Pride Month. As always, please let us know about your events and help us to celebrate you and what you're doing with and alongside your schools, whether it's about graduations, moving up ceremonies, Pride Month celebrations. So tag us on your social channels and you can find our social handles in the chat. You can also email us stuff directly. Mike will put the email address in the chat. We're very happy to amplify all of the great work that you're doing. If you are doing anything that we can be helpful with, I know it's sort of tight to the end. You probably have all of your speakers and things lined up, but please definitely let us know in particular if there are things that you'd like folks to be elected officials in particular to be invited to. And I know I speak for Corey and Natasha as well in saying that we love to get to as many of these things as we possibly can. So very selfishly, please always invite us. We'd love to make it to as many things as possible. For the second half of today's webinar, we're also going to be talking about the theme of the end of the school year. And we're going to have two schools share their reflections on this past year, which I know for folks has been in some ways like back to normal and in some ways a new normal. And in some ways, nothing like normal ever used to be. So the great thing about this work is that it is never boring. So a few announcements from us before I hand it over to authorizers and our partners. In case you're not aware, one thing that we wanted to share with folks, although many of you shared it with us, is that we have been noticing some increased activity on the part of NYSET to push for unionization at charter schools. And so Mike's going to drop a link in the chat that is actually an Instagram post. So please also shout out in the chat if it doesn't come through for you. So these social media ads seem to be part of a larger campaign by the new NYSET leader around membership for their organization in general. So still, we're absolutely tracking this. And I know I speak for Corey and the Charter Center when we are constantly comparing notes and on the lookout for these sorts of things. But we do specifically recommend that you are in particular alert to any indications of organizing and you're familiar with the parameters of what you can and cannot do if you think that there's an outside attempt to organize your staff. In this case, as in so many, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so the absolute best thing you can do is to have a great strong and open staff culture. But if you have any, given the sensitivity of this issue in particular, if you have any questions or concerns that are specific to your school, please reach out to us directly and we can set up a conversation. And based on what we hear back from folks, we can decide if there's a larger conversation that would warrant happening. We also just want to remind everyone that, while everything else is going on, it's so important to encourage your staff and families to participate in the democratic process. Primary elections are coming up on June 27th. And the final deadline to be eligible or to register to be eligible vote in the primary is on June 17th. So super, super soon. If your school community wants any support in encouraging folks to get out the vote or to be eligible to vote, please let us know. We have a bunch of resources on our webpage that we're dropping in the chat. And I would also say, looking ahead to next year, if there are ways that you would like to do any deeper dives into voter registration in terms of matching staff or family information to voter rolls to understand, quite frankly, how powerful your school community's voice is, please let us know, because we want to start that work as early as possible, already looking ahead to next year. I know it feels like I know I said the words new normal, maybe I was jinxing us, but two COVID related updates going back to the early days of these webinars that we wanted to share with you. One is that Mayor Adams continues to extend the New York City COVID state of emergency on a month-to-month basis. So the new extension lasts until next week, June 20th. And we'll let you know as soon as we know if it is continues to be renewed. Means in particular that New York City charter schools, not schools outside of New York City, continue to hold public meetings such as board meetings, committee meetings with remote participation. We also wanted to update you. You've probably been getting these emails from third-party organizations, but the status of student loan repayments. So one of the provisions of one of the COVID support payments was around delaying student loan repayment as part of the CARES Act, and that is ending. So student loan repayment is expected to resume later this summer, and we think that folks will start receiving those bills again in September or October. So there continues to be some aspects of evolution here in terms of the pending Supreme Court decision and the US DOE proposal that would lower payments, in particular for borrowers who are working in public service loan forgiveness eligible professions like teaching in your schools. So still lots of complexity playing out here, but it does seem like one way or the other, some degree of repayment is going to resume probably right around the same time that folks are coming back from summer break. So if you have any questions or want to have a larger conversation, get into more of the weeds, including any sort of conversations or resources for your staff, please feel free to email Mike Good. He'll drop his email in the chat and we can definitely help you out. Couple small other programming updates before I hand it off. The New York State Charter Parent Council's June meeting will be tomorrow at 6. We're putting the link in the chat. It's going to be a fun celebration of some of the most active members, which are from your schools. And so please pass the link and information along to families at your school. We also, again, in this theme of barely wrapping one year and looking ahead to next year, registration for the 2023 New York Charter Schools Conference is open. This year will be in Albany from October 18th through October 20th. And for those of you who aren't aware, we purposefully changed the location of the conference around the state so that every region has the opportunity to play host and to welcome you into their schools. And so the program is already available on our website. The links being dropped in the chat. That includes the current schedule of some of the school visits and other similar regional attractions. If you are an association member, you and your staff receive complimentary registration. And you should have already gotten a promo code for that registration in your email. But if not, you can also email us and we'll drop the email address in the chat. If you can hear background noise, my daughter plays the flute and she is practicing right now. So hopefully that is lovely and not distracting. We're also really excited to get proposals from for potential conference participants, and in particular for school leaders. So if you're someone who works at or represents a school and thinks that you have something great to share with the charter community, we really, really, really want to hear from you. And I just want to underscore that the sort of threshold for submitting a proposal can be a great concept. We're more than happy to talk to you and help you think through your proposal, because as I'm sure you all realize more than anyone else, the best thing is to hear from other schools who are trying something new or might be having success with something. In particular, interested to hear from folks. Big topic right now, obviously, is AI. And so if you're a school that is doing something or experimenting with or has had experience with that, definitely let us know. That is, I would say, an example of a category of things that we know that schools would love to hear from each other about what they're doing. And now finally, I will turn it over to Lisa, Mike, Raisa, Aaron for updates that they want to share, and then Corey for any updates from the Charter Center. So Lisa, and loving your necklace, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I just had one update on June 6th last week in conjunction with the New York City Charter Center. We conducted our renewal webinar, and it was a hybrid. So we had some folks in person. Sharita Smith at the center has a recording of that session, and for the 28 schools that we have eligible for renewal for 2023-24, if you were not in attendance, you should have a link to that session. And again, we were very appreciative of Sharita's partnership and the center's partnership on that session. That's it. So I can toss it to who? Aaron?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, if you, Mike?
Sure. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Couple quick updates. First up, we have an update on Epicenter. Starting in September, SUNY authorized schools will be responsible for updating contacts directly in Epicenter on a quarterly basis. This will replace the need to submit a spreadsheet to us each year. After completing the update, the schools will submit a simple verification in Epicenter that they are complete. And the Institute will be offering some office hours in August, as well as some guidance to ensure you have the resources you need to make the updates easily. Also on a compliance note, the Institute has also updated our website with a host of new finance guidance, docs, and templates, including the annual budget template, budget and quarterly reports template, revision 5-year budget template, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll drop a quick link to that fiscal page in just a few minutes in the chat box. And then finally, if you're interested in opening a new charter, reach out to us. The Institute is always welcome to inquiries from groups interested in applying. If you think you're applying or know a group who is considering applying to open a SUNY authorized school, please reach out to us. I'll put the email address again in the chat box in just a few minutes, and our team will be back in touch with you shortly. Also be on the lookout for some webinars and virtual information sessions in the near future for schools who are looking for to open up a SUNY charter. And that's all I have.
All right, I will go. So putting on my authorizer hat since Raisa can't be here today, just a reminder to the schools going through renewal next year about our renewal kickoff on Thursday. We hope to see you there. And then on the full New York City side, if your charter school has not yet responded to our fall survey, or if you are planning to do summer and have not yet responded to our summer survey, then please do so pretty quickly. And I did want to give a heads up, and thanks, Mike, for talking about contacts is so important. We know that there are a lot of new faces at many of our New York City charter schools these days, and it appears that many of them are not getting the Charter Schools Weekly. And so maybe their contacts have not been added to the charter information portal, which likely means that they're not getting key information to get the school ready for the end of the year and ahead for next year. So I would just strongly recommend that all schools pause for the cause and make sure that folks are getting the Charter Schools Weekly and that folks have access to all the correct systems. It's worse than I've seen in a couple years in terms of trying to get information out to the sector just because we don't have up-to-date contacts. So I will end there and move it over to Corey.
Good afternoon, everyone. Also excited and hoping the folks are gearing up for a little bit of a break, though I know a lot of you are running summer school, so that break might be short-lived. Just in terms of next year, wanted to put on folks' radar, we are, Sharita and School Supports is again partnering with the DOE to bring you boot camp. So just as Erin said, there are lots of new faces. We want to make sure folks are on, the right email list. Also want to make sure folks are getting the training. So I'm going to put in the chat where you can make sure to register for that because the dates have already been announced. It's coming end of July, early August for New York City charters. And yes, but that, we are also winding down most of our programming and we will be here all summer though. So if folks have issues or questions, feel free to reach out and hope folks enjoy at least somewhat of a break this summer. So that's all for me. Back to you, Anna.
Awesome, thank you. We can pause for a second for a little Q&A before we move over to introduce the two schools to be highlighted. The only question I'm seeing in the chat so far, but people can feel free to come off mute and ask questions, was one for SUNY about the 5-year budget. And I'm not gonna lie, like I find the new Zoom chat to be too either more or less user-friendly. So it seems like, Mike, you're sharing that, yes, the 5-year budget is updated. I don't know if you want to say more about that, or there's a link that is worth sharing with folks.
Yeah, I put the link to the fiscal page, which should have all the documents and the guidance and templates there.
Yeah, so it's funny. I think I can scroll through this screen now, and I'm like back to feeling Zoom stupid. So thank you. All right, sorry. No, I see that. Sorry for missing that. Other questions before we hand it over to our featured schools? That's my wait time. All right, hearing none. Really excited to take some time. Again, we know how awesome it is to hear from folks from across the state. So we want to hear from two charter schools, one from Rochester and one from New York City, to talk a little bit about and reflect back on this past year. Again, knowing that in some ways it was back to normal or a new normal or none of the things. So first, I'm going to pass it over to Lisa to introduce the Academy of Health Sciences.
Thanks, Anna. I'm very happy to be introducing our first school today, Academy of Health Sciences Charter School in Rochester. We are joined by Wanda Perez Brundage, the founding principal and CEO of AHS. Academy of Health Sciences is a 5th through 8th grade middle school that opened in 2018 and now serves over 300 students. The mission of the Academy of Health Sciences Charter School is to provide a learning environment that ensures academic achievement while providing students with college and career readiness and preparing them for lives of service in the health sciences. Please welcome Wanda to share a bit about the school's past year. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for your patience just as I start the slideshow here. And thanks, Lisa, for that. Anna and Michael especially, thank you all for your ongoing support of our school. We opened our doors in the fall of 2019, and by March, of course, we were closing those doors. So we're one of those charter schools that started in that first pandemic year, and it is really exciting to be what I call on the other side of it. I don't know if it's new normal or old normal, but we have had a really great year this year as our 4th year. So I really appreciate being able to highlight some of what we have experienced. And we'll start right here with our kids and our amazing teachers. Part of why we started this program is because the health sciences are so important for every single person in the world. And I know I'm speaking to an audience that obviously most of you have went through the pandemic as educators and went through air quality issues last week. So the importance of the health sciences just continue to play such a big part of all of our lives. And that is what we want our students to be exposed to have an opportunity to feel smart about health and themselves and what they can contribute to the world. So here is a class of our 7th graders. 98% of our 7th graders have been certified in the American Red Cross babysitter course, and 48% have passed their first aid and CPR certification as well. So we're really proud of some of the things that we've been able to put into place as we've come out of some of the pandemicness. There's a real academic portion of that type of learning that we do with students. So we continue to obviously push to meet all of the academic goals. But we're really excited about how excited our students are about this type of learning and how it adds to their overall empowerment and education, especially at the middle school level. As you heard, one of our goals is if they enter at 5th grade, sometimes 2, 3, or 4 years below grade level, we want them to be entering high school on grade level and above. And so that is what we're talking about every day and making sure that it happens. Can't do it without great partners. So this year we were really able to establish partnerships with the Jordan Health System here in Rochester. And these 2 students just went to the University of Rochester School of Nursing for a guided tour to meet the professionals there. And we know that we're going to be able to continue to expand these partnerships to get our students out into the real world of health sciences that are happening in Rochester. Not surprised to anyone, I'm sure, that healthcare is the #1 employer in Rochester. So these are absolutely career pathways that we want them to be aware of and to be exposed to. Of course, health has a lot of meaning throughout our lives in our school. And so we also find ways to teach our students about mental health aspects through things like art integration. The picture on the left is a student who volunteered to sing for her class, and this as a brain break during math class. And some of the students decided to use their calculators as phones to pretend they were taking pictures and videos of her, which is hilarious because we're also really proud of our culture. We've been able to tackle phone issues, which a lot of people obviously deal with at school on a day-to-day basis, and really just continue to focus our kids on learning and enriching themselves and each other during the school day. And we can't do that without obviously investing in our teachers and really helping them invest in each other. So one of our last themes of the school year is learning to thrive. And we have also been working on that with our teaching staff. So this is a snapshot of mini PDs that our teachers designed and basically delivered to each other in small groups on topics that they were interested in and that aligned to our professional learning community priorities. And we've got 2 great moments that are to come. One is that we're graduating our first class of 8th graders this year. They went on the classic 8th grade DC trip, which was amazing. And in August, we will be moving into our permanent home. I don't know if you've heard all the background noise behind me, but we're very grateful for this incubator space, as loud as it is. But we're also really excited to move into this next phase of our school. So thanks again to the association just for the time to share some of these highlights and what the 22-23 school year has brought for our students and our whole community.
Thank you so much, Wanda. I can't wait to see the new space. And just, it was a former bowling alley. Am I getting that right?
That's correct. A bowling alley I bowled at and drove by for many, many years. So, yep.
Awesome. And I'll call myself out here as uber nerd that in high school, my friend and I made a program on our graphing calculators to gossip. Although we called it program gossip. So if anyone had ever confiscated, we would have been really in trouble. So with that, Mike, I'd love to and maybe on the theme of maybe that's a stretch for computer science, but Mike, I'd love to turn it over to you to introduce our second school.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Wanda. That was great stuff. Congratulations on the new facility. Let's see. So I now have the pleasure to introduce David Noah, the Executive Director of Urban Assembly Charter School for Science, or better known as CompSci High. Opened in 2018, CompSci High is located in the Bronx and currently serves students in grades 9 through 12. CompSci's team of exemplary educators works to ensure that all their students use the power of education, technology, and community to become an engine of opportunity and a force for economic freedom in the South Bronx. David, I'll now turn things over to you to share a little bit more about your school.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Wanda, that was awesome. I was like snapping it up for you on mute. Love to see middle schools doing career education, make my life easier. But first, I know we're talking about the end of the year, but just for all my high school people on the call, and middle schools doing regents, like our year is far from over. So just sending love and energy out to all the educators, because really in New York State, we go till the bitter end, all of us. So still a couple more weeks to go. So hopefully they're beautiful ones for everyone. But so yeah, we're in the Bronx, CompSci High. We started in 2018. Definitely can relate to some extent to what Wanda was sharing. Definitely the pandemic came pretty soon after we got started, but yeah, you know, here in the South Bronx in particular, like we are all about really thinking about the economic impact of school. And so for us, it's really about, like, we actually put a number on it. We did a little projection. Median household income 7 years from now, which is when our graduates will be 25, is going to be about $94,000 a year. And so our aim is to get every student to that number by the time they hit 25 years old, which feels kind of crazy, but also for us, that is a really important ingredient to give our kids the freedom they need and deserve. And so, yeah, it's been, I mean, like all school years, it has been a beautiful but difficult year. So we are all about internships and internship programs. That is what we're about. Yes, computer science for sure, but not only computer science. Want to talk about our first internship program, which started last summer. We built a summer camp for the community. And the students in the back, the people in the back are our students, and the kids in the front are just elementary school kids from the community in the Bronx, not our school, not connected to our school. And we said, like, yeah, we want kids working at Amazon and JP Morgan Chase, where we have apprenticeship programs, but we also want kids just working in jobs that actually speak to enriching their community, making their community a better place. And so we thought, like, we have a lot of kids passionate about sports. Let's open a summer camp. Let's provide free childcare to 40 families in the Bronx. And let's see if we can get kids directly involved in their community as a way of building entrepreneurship. And so our inaugural summer camp program actually started last summer. And that was actually the start of our school year. This year was running summer camp for our community. These are just some snapshots for summer programs. So every summer we have about 90% of our 9th through 11th graders have summer jobs. And so on the left, that's our commercial real estate program. They work with Greystone. And then on the right, that was one of our science programs. So they were at a lab up at Columbia doing something with electrodes and brains and stuff. I can't even tell you what it was. But yeah, our year really starts and ends with that summer, because we think like, yeah, we love our kids and their parents love them, but we want them to spend some time with someone who maybe doesn't love them quite as much, so they get a little bit of experience navigating that before their first job in the real world. And then of course, like we are gearing up for, just like Wanda, just like everybody else in this call, gearing up for a beautiful moment, our second graduating class. So we just had our senior parade yesterday. That's when our seniors parade. We are split side right now, so it's especially exciting because our seniors parade through the halls. Our 9th through 11th graders get to like cheer for them. But we have graduation coming up at the end of next week. And we have kids going off all over the country to go to college. You can see some of those pennants in this picture. There's our private university group, and then we have our CUNY SUNY group. And then we have our kids who are going to job training and military. So we are really excited to see our seniors. And I would say the other thing that we really celebrate at the end of the year, so every single student at Comstock High presents their 5-year plan. So they have to present and defend their 5-year plan for what they're going to do after graduation. That is a graduation requirement. And I'm telling you right now, we definitely have 1 or 2 friends who are going to be representing probably the morning of graduation, because like we are serious about them having like a real plan. So if it's not good, we tell them to do it again. But here's a little single slide from one of those plans. But they have short-term plans, and then they have long-term plans. And the way we really cap off our year is graduation, of course, but our senior dinner, where each of those seniors speaks to the entire class about where they are headed next and what their plans are and what their goals are. And so we are excited to celebrate that. But really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit, and just congratulations to everybody who is on camera, off camera, listening or not. But yeah, it's hard work since the pandemic in particular. So appreciate everyone who is still in it.
Thank you, David. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I'm nominating you to present at the conference, either to talk about doing this 5-year plan with students or to run a workshop for the adults in the room. Because there's nothing like goal setting, and those are like, I got goosebumps looking at that slide. So that's awesome. Thank you. Super appreciate it. I'm also just going to throw out a crazy idea at the risk of making my team cringe in their boots. Every year seeing these pictures of the pennants and people's alma maters, like a lot of us have those, or, you know, seeing the pennants of where kids are, you know, our kids are going collectively, globally, our kids, and a lot of those places are our own alma maters. And so, you know, we've got to figure out a way to make those connections so that we can make those 5- and 10-year plans come true. All right. So unless there are other questions, yeah, and David, you know, I still wait for the time in my life where part of my 5-year plan definitely doesn't include maybe joining the circus. Thank you all again. And in particular, thank you, Wanda, David, and our partners and authorizers for taking the time to present. Folks have any questions, feel free to come off chat, but otherwise we are going to take a break from this forum just for the month of July, coming back at you in August. Doesn't mean that we're not working hard, just not going to be sort of on your Hollywood Square screens. So if you need anything or anything comes up, I hope it goes without saying to please let us know. Good luck with the Regents, everyone. Thanks, David, for the reminder that, you know, we're close to the finish line, but that last little push is the hardest. So stay strong, be well, keep in touch. Thanks, everyone.